Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of people saying that they know the owner when they don't. And the stories are hilarious. These stories come from r/Tales from Retail, Tales from Your Server, and I Don't Work Here Lady subreddits. I hope you stay for all the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. This first story is titled, Those Tables That Know the Owner. For a long time, I worked in a restaurant that went by a person's name. Let's call it Clarissa's Winery. Putting her name on the building attracted a lot of bad behavior. I couldn't go a week without someone claiming that they were a friend of Clarissa's in hopes of a discount, and you'd be shocked how many of them had been best friends since grade school. Fortunately, Clarissa was always in the restaurant, so it was never difficult to sort out which of them were lying. I'd always light up with a huge smile and let each customer know the great news. I'd always say, I'm sure Clarissa would be thrilled to hear that an old friend is here. I'd be happy to tell her that you're here if you'd like to say hello. Unsurprisingly, most of them were always in too much of a hurry or, oh, I don't want to disturb her. Only one customer ever took me up on it. She hesitantly agreed before adding, I'm not sure she'll remember me though, it's been a very long time. This poor woman. Enthusiastically, I lead her to the back of the dining room to a tall glass case featuring a statue of an angel and said, here we are, this is Clarissa. She's celebrating her 30th anniversary with us, so she's almost a local piece of history. Isn't she gorgeous? The customer and I stared at each other with poker faces for a long time before she said, yes, lovely, where's your bathroom? And hurried away. No discount today, lady. Lucky for me, the owner Josephine was a family friend and let me get away with being a smartass sometimes. I don't know what's more awkward, following a server and ending up at a statue, or meeting someone who you said you knew when you really don't to try to get a discount. Oh, some people. This next one's titled, I Know the Owner. The pub that I work at changed hands about 3 years ago. We still get people claiming to be regulars being very surprised at the change in decor. We have a rule where some glasses don't go outdoors, they're expensive, and glasses get stolen pretty frequently because you can leave so easily once outside. So a middle-aged bloke comes in, makes himself comfortable at the bar, and trying to decide what to buy. Shock horror, he gets a San Miguel. At this point, we have some stemmed San Mig glasses hanging at the bar, but they don't go outside. I pull out a regular glass and start to pour. This guy looks really offended, points at the nice glasses, and quite rudely says that he should have been offered one. I explain that we technically have a $5 deposit on the glasses for outdoors, but nobody wants to pay that, so we don't even bother to ask. He immediately begins a spiel about how he knows the owner, they go back decades, and he's gonna have a word with him about this policy. Interesting, considering the owners only moved here from Australia 5 years ago. I humor him and ask how he knows the couple, and he says, sweetheart, I've known Mike for years. I used to be a chef here. We're great friends. I see him all the time. And I said, well, Mike sold his pubs 3 years ago and he moved away to a different city. They must be fantastic friends. If you're gonna drop a name, at least make sure it's still relevant. And for goodness sake, don't say you see them all the time when you don't. Oh my goodness. This next one's titled, I Know the Owner. Tales from a Fireworks Tent. Background. I own and operate my own retail store. It's actually a seasonal fireworks tent, but not like any fireworks tent you've seen before. It's 2,400 square feet of fireworks heaven. I think because of the type of business I have, which is a fireworks tent in a parking lot, that people who come to shop just assume they can wheel and deal to get a better price. And they're right. I own the place, I set the prices, and I get to make the rules. We always try to throw in something a little extra for the customers. Where I'm from, in Louisiana, it's known as legnappe, which means a little something extra. It's kind of like a baker's dozen, which is 13 instead of 12. If you come in with a great attitude, pick out your stuff, and are friendly to my staff, I'm gonna make sure you leave happy. I love the customers that come in to try to get a deal by telling us that they know the owner. You would not believe how often this happens. My standard response when someone tells me this is, "Great, if you can just have them give me a call, we can go ahead and give you the standard 50% discount." If we're slow, my other favorite scenario is to tell them that we can check the comp list to see if they're supposed to get their stuff for free. I'll then periodically yell out and randomly ask each employee if they've seen the comp list, while obviously making no attempt to look myself. Most of my employees are in on the joke, and they'll just say no or claim they saw some other employee looking at it. But the credit for the best response goes to my good friend Steven, who kindly takes a few days off from his real job to help me out when I'm really busy. When he's helping, I think of him as another manager. I trust his judgment, and if he wants to give a discount or step in and take care of an issue, more power to him. Steven had been helping out a problem shopper, and the guy had really worn him out. I'd been helping other people, but I'd seen Steven go round and round with this guy. Typical entitled angry shopper. Steven showing him around and explaining what everything does. Meanwhile, the guy's basically berating Steven the entire time. He doesn't like the stuff we have, our prices are too expensive, and he can get a better deal down the road. It goes on and on. The guy finally gets up to the counter to check out, and Steven goes off to help someone else. After a few minutes, the cashier calls Steven back to the counter. Steven had already given the guy a couple of free things to try to make him happy, but the entitled guy is now demanding a discount on the entire purchase. I'm standing about 15 feet away helping another customer when I stop and look over just in time to catch this exchange. The entitled guy says, "I'm supposed to get a discount. I know the owner." Steven responds, "You do? You must be the guy he called me about." "Yes, I'm that guy." And Steven drops the bomb on him and says, "He said that you were a pain in his ass and that I should charge you double for whatever you wanted." Steven turned around and walked away, and the entitled guy paid and stormed out of the tent, and I turned and went back to helping my customer, who was now laughing her ass off. This one's titled, "You know the owner? Well, that changes everything." I worked at a medium-sized video store chain for about a decade. I worked as everything from clerk to manager and district manager in that time. I've always hated customers. Hiding that fact was always a challenge. One day, we had a customer that was upset that we had charged his credit card over $100. We did this because he had rented 3 Sony PlayStation games for his kid, and our games had those CD protective stickers that were stuck to the back and impossible to take off without destroying the game. The kid had tried to peel them off and killed 3 fairly new games. The mom came in and claimed they didn't work and wanted to exchange them. The clerk told her that's what her son had done to the games, and that now she was responsible to replace the games that her son ruined. When my employee told her how much it would cost to replace them, she said, "Good luck with that," and walked out. When I came in later that day, my employee showed me the games and told me what happened. I called the house and got the father. I explained what happened and that I could probably cut him a little bit of slack on the cost to replace them. His response was, "No, I'm not paying anything." He hung up and I charged the credit card, the one that he must have forgot we kept on file. A few weeks later, he got the bill in the mail and came down to the store to yell at me. I tried to explain that he was responsible. I tried to tell him that if he could go find replacements at a used game store, that I would refund the full price that we charged him. He started off with the "I'll sue you," and then went to the "I'll report you to the Better Business Bureau" to "I'll report you to the state's attorney general." When he realized that I wasn't intimidated by his threats, he very smugly said this to me. He said, "I know the owner, and you can kiss your job goodbye for how you treated me. When I tell him, you'll be fired so quick that it'll make your head spin." I said, "Oh, you know David?" He replies, "Yeah, I know David, and you're losing your job today. Actually, the owner's name's Peter." And he said, "Oh, that's what I meant." And then I said, "Actually, his name's Jack. The owner's name is Jack." He swore at me, crumpled up his bill, tossed it at me, and stormed out. This last story is titled, "Customer decides to call my boss because I won't give her a special deal." I work at what I can only describe as a specialty antique store. The store isn't doing too hot for business, and my coworker and I have been in the process of running a 60% off sale to clear the inventory for a bit. This story takes place in November-ish. It's a Wednesday, and I'm working alone, which is pretty common. The town where I work is a tourist town, so no one comes in during the week. Just as I was thinking about how dead it was, a woman came in and barged up to the counter. We'll call her Martha. Martha was an older woman, and she dragged along her sister, who we'll call Kate, with her. They approached me and asked me about a product they were looking for, which we didn't have. I informed them that we didn't have what they wanted, but we had a few similar items. They decided to look around and each picked out a few things they found interesting. Now, I didn't mention this before, but the price range of the items at the store where I work are really high. The most expensive item we have is $7,000, and the cheapest is about $110, hence the store closure. Well, Martha brought up her items to me and I rang them up. Her total with 60% off was well over $1,000. She saw her total and narrowed her eyes at me. She said, "This can't be my total. You didn't take 60% off." I told her that I did and that I can show her the receipt. And she says, "Re-ring me. I don't believe that number." I was annoyed, but I did what she asked. I re-rang all of her items and I got the same total. She gets upset and pulls out her phone calculator and does the math, and her total is less than what I have. She shows me her phone and it's close to what I got, but not quite. I realized that she didn't add the tax on her purchase. I explained that there's a tax on items, and she argues with me round and round. Finally, she gives up and offers her card to me with a huff. But wait, we haven't talked about her sister yet. Martha goes to hand me her card, and Kate intercepts, saying, Wait. Surely there's something you can do. We spent a lot of money here. Give us a better deal." I didn't even know how to react, honestly. I remember being surprised, but I said, "Sorry, I can't do that." Kate pushed and says, "You have to give us a better deal. We've been in here before, and I know the owner." I again say, "I can't do that. You're getting 60% off as is. That's enough." Martha was mad now, of course, and she tells me that I must give them a discount because they know the owner. I'm like, that's definitely BS, but okay. Martha threatens to call my boss, and because my boss is really cool, I said, "Okay, well, call her then." As expected, Martha didn't want to bother my boss at the moment because they were really busy and had to leave anyway. She paid for all of her stuff, and they left. I called my boss after she left and told her about the situation. My boss apologized to me for having to deal with Martha and told my coworker and I not to give her or her sister a discount in the future. It's funny how people use the "I know the owner" line and expect to overpower the employee. I wonder how many times this actually works. If you're listening and work in retail, I hope you've taken some notes because the people who use the lines in these stories got their asses handed to them and all walked away with their tails tucked. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories in this episode. If you guys aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I upload videos almost all the time because I have no life and all I do is read Reddit. See you guys in the next one.